Up next, we'll have Silver Viper Minerals. Presenting will be Steve Cope, the president and CEO. Silver Viper is focused on precious metals exploration in Sonora State in northwestern Mexico. Take it away, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, and thanks everyone else for taking the time to listen to not only our story, but everyone else, that's doing a lot of really good things in Mexico. I will be making some forward-looking statements, so I'll draw your attention to this slide. Why invest? I mean, right now, I guess we've seen above and beyond what's on this page, we've seen this market where everyone, and I'm sure all the presenters will say the same, have said the same thing, or will say the same thing, that, all of our share prices are depressed. And it's not only our sector, it's, a lot of sectors in the world right now as people have, sold their equities and gone to, US dollars or Canadian dollars in cash and sitting on the sidelines right now. But it's created this opportunity that we saw in 2008. We saw it in 2020 at the start of COVID, for people to get involved with these projects. They're established projects that have, haven't done anything to warrant their share prices coming off the way they have. But again, be a contrarian investor. And if you listen to the stories today, you've got a really good opportunity to invest in all of these names and probably make a lot of money. Because as we come out of these markets, it's the precious metal stocks that tend to rebound first, like you saw in those other dates, and there can be a lot of money made. So again, I'm not going to say that just for me. I'll say that for everyone that's presenting today and a lot of the other quality companies in our sector. But you're sitting at an opportunity right now, if you're listening to these stories, to if you have capital to deploy, these are some very good opportunities right now. When you're looking to invest in a precious metals exploration company, I think there's three things you really need to focus on. One, that it has a high quality asset. Two, that it still has lots of potential. And three, that it has a strong management and shareholder group behind it. I mean, again, we're going to go through that as we go through the deck, why we check off all those boxes, but we certainly do. And we're really looking forward to some catalysts that'll be upcoming here over the next 12 months. Our project's located in Eastern Sonora. You fly in an international airport in Hermosillo and take a paved highway all the way to the local town of Corrichico. And from there, we're about 30 minutes in on a gravel and dirt road to camp. We're sitting in this particular mountain range. It's actually, most of Mexico has seen a lot of exploration, and most of the state of Sonora has seen a lot of exploration. But this particular mountain trend that we're in, due to accessibility in a lot of areas, hasn't seen virtually any modern exploration. This project was originally found by mine finders, and what they were doing was looking for another Dolores, which was their flagship project, their large mine. They sold it to 1.5 billion to Pan American Silver. But they flew this whole mountain range looking for another Dolores, and they settled on La Virginia being that lookalike. They put over 50,000 meters in the project, but then they were bought by Pan American. Metals prices fell, and the project was put on the shelf. We got involved in 2018 and were able to bring the whole land package back together and then make a brand new discovery on the Rubi portion of the project, which sits about 4 kilometers north of where the historic work was done. But like I said, this particular belt, you have Dolores 100K to the south, nothing in between as far as modern exploration. And about 90K to the north, you have the LT grade deposit, which was a past producing mine that a junior is now exploring on as well. In between, the only thing that's ever seen any modern exploration is our project. And the main thing, again, is accessibility. We have very easy access here. Like I said, you take that highway to Corrichico. There's actually, you can't see it on the map there, you can see parts of it, but there's actually a major river that runs north-south through that part of the state. And most of that river doesn't have a bridge across it. One of the few bridges in our area is right by Corrichico. So again, it's very easy for us to get there. But a lot of this area you can't get to. And, it's been so easy to explore in the rest of Sonora and the flatter deserty areas that this particular belt is highly underexplored. Again, here you can see the claims as they stand. We have the right to go to 100% on those blue claims. We already own 100% of everything that's in red. Where we made our discovery kind of straddles both of those claim area at El Rubi. And then we've made some additional, potential discoveries at El Molino and El Rubi North, and lots of other targets on the project. We just made that second last payment. We have our one final larger payment that's due June of next year. And of note, half of that can be paid in shares at our discretion. We do have 2 NSRs on the project. One is to Pan American Silver, and it's a 2% NSR that covers all of the project, both the blue and the red claims. And then there's an internal 2% NSR that we have the right to buy back that's only on those claims in blue. The main thing on this slide is actually the picture in the bottom right. That is the El Rubi Plateau where we made our discovery. It's very important that you note that flat plateau and coming off on the south and the western sides of it. makes it very favorable for open pit heap leach mining, where most of the rest of the project is steeper, hilly terrain. El Rubi itself is very appealing for open pit heap leach. Just with that topography, there's a lot of benefits. And as we go through our resource and what we found on the project, it really lends itself to start off as an open pit heap leach operation, which is what this state is known for. The average open pit heap leach operation in the state operates about a 0.5 gram gold average grade. They've been making money from 1,200 gold cheaper and up. So that it is the cheapest mining there is. Low capex. It's just, basically a earth moving operation. And so we're excited of what we found on that, which we'll go into a little bit further on some of the other slides. But then also we're going to be following those high grade structures that we see that, make up this breccia El Rubi structure. And our next campaign is going to be testing that at depth, looking for the source of all that mineralization, which we think from our geophysics that we've done, that we're certainly vectoring in on exactly where that'll be. Again, here you can see a couple of the other names in the project, in that northern part of the project. Macho Libre is a 2 kilometer long target that we're going to do some additional work on that we think, strong chance for, new discoveries. We hit some mineralization on that in a few holes that we put into it. But again, we think there's a lot more to be found there. El Molino is looking more and more like a very important part to the project. Actually, this week, we just got, you can see there some surface sampling that was particularly good, but we've actually been following up and doing some additional mapping there. And we think we've found a feeder this week for that area of the project. We found this structure that was made up of volcanic glass and quartz veins. And so, we're just starting to understand that, but I know on the southern end of El Molino, we're very excited about the prospects there, and that area will be heavily explored in the next drilling campaign. Here you can see the outline for the El Rubi pit. That's where our resource is defined and on the project currently. We've expanded on that at least 300 meters to the south to the bottom of the arroyo. But the main thing that just happened is we just completed this magnetotelluric geophysics. And again, one of the main things we want to see is where the feeder is for this El Rubi structure. You heard Lauren talking about intrusive bodies. We certainly see that below El Rubi. There's a kind of a triangular shape that you don't see on surface that we've definitely interpreted as an intrusion in that area. And then on that particular line there, you see that large deep target below the El Rubi deposit. That was why we did that geophysics. That's, was the theory that we were working on, that was going to be there. We've seen a lot of sulfides blasted from depth that we see, 0.5 meter here and there in our high grade sampling. That's definitely coming from depth. And then to see that large deep target below El Rubi on that one line, that's definitely vectoring us in on where we're going to be putting some deep holes in that next campaign. But what also happened in that geophysics was showing us a lot of targets that were previously unknown. Maybe we saw some hints in the surface geochem, but really starting to light up other potential El Rubis moving to the east. So lots of targets, lots of potential for additional discoveries all over this project. So I think we're just scratching the surface right now. And like I said, we want to be following up and doing a very major drilling campaign in the fall. Here's that kind of triangular shape that we've interpreted as that intrusion. And you can see a lot of our targets that we've identified are right on the periphery of that particular shape, all the way over where we've got this kind of eastern trend that make up Peridonis and El Molino, Macho Libre, El Rubi, and Rubi North on the western flank of that. And then as you move further north, you get up to our porphyry target at La Gloria that, isn't our focus, but is still sitting in the same north-south running mineral trend that we see run for 100 plus Ks on the project. Again, some further, the geophysics is kind of highlighted because that's kind of the most recent work that's been done. That's, as we finally pause and taken a breath here from drilling to really start to understand the deposit further, based on the drill results that we've had. And so we've really been focused on our geochem and our geophysics and really getting an understanding how all these different targets come together and, where the best places to make new discoveries are going to be. But, again, the geophysics worked very well. We're seeing, how these things are shifting from depth. And again, we're very much going to be targeting these with some deeper drilling. This is the southern end of that plateau. And this basically shows our most favorable horizon for mineralization to date has been this andesite agglomerate. You can see that El Rubi structure. That's our on the eastern flank of the El Rubi. That's our breccia structure that runs the kilogram plus silver numbers with high grade gold. In the footwall of that structure, we get kind of a 20 to 80 meter wide zone that runs gram to gram and a half gold equivalent numbers. I remember, again, I mentioned how important This is for an open pit heap leach operation. That was kind of the first part of that. And then we discovered the western zone, which runs 100 meter plus wide intervals with that gram to gram and a half. And so that really opened our eyes to the potential for this to be an open pit heap leach operation, and then to follow those high grade structures down at depth. And that's what we're going to be working on in the future here, is developing that underground resource. As you get to the rhyolite package, we still see our veins go through that package, but it's a much tighter, harder package. It doesn't allow for the fluids to percolate and boil out like you see in the andesite agglomerate. But one of the working theories and models and why we did that geophysics is when we get to the contact below that rhyolite package, whether it's another andesite package or a metasediment package, that we're going to see at that contact, those bonanza grades that similar types of deposits this around the world have. And so that's why we did that deep magnetotellurics. You see that contact that we saw, it worked. It's identified what that is. So we're going to go down and test that and see if we can't, run into something pretty spectacular. The one of the people that really pushed us in that direction was Quentin Heading with Crescat Capital when they did a large placement in the company. And he started comparing it to other deposits around the world that are multi-million ounce gold, silver base metal deposits. And so really there are a lot of striking comparisons. This isn't, we're in an epithermal system, but this isn't your traditional Mexican epithermal system. We get high grade gold and silver with no base metals at surface. 300 meters down, we're still in a high grade gold and silver with no base metals, which isn't what you would see, in 99% of the projects around in Mexico. So we've always known we were onto something a little bit different here, and we're really excited to prove out that model. Again, here, there's kind of a cartoon showing that particular model and how it forms and where we're sitting. So we're really, really looking forward to testing that as we move forward. Again, I mentioned some of those sulfides that you see in half meters here or there. Most of our El Rubi deposit doesn't have base metals, but then you get a sample like this where you get a half meter, we still have our nice gold and silver grades, but we start to see the copper, lead, zinc numbers really spike, where the rest of it, those base metals are barely anomalous. So again, this is coming from depth, from where the source of this mineralization is, and we're really excited to go find that. So far, everything we've done here, we've been using man-portable rigs. We're permitted, to drill across the project with Seminat. It's a very, environmentally friendly way to drill. We reuse all that lumber. One of the things that was unique for us here in Mexico was the presence of visible gold in a lot of the El Rubi core. Hasn't been our, through our decades that we've worked in Mexico, we haven't seen a lot of visible gold. So again, a little bit different of a system that we're working with. And it tends to be, electrum, the gold and silver associated together when we see it. The numbers here speak for themselves. A lot of these are from that high-grade breccia structure El Rubi, but you can see a couple of the broad, long intervals that I was talking about in those lower grade zones that are important for the heap leach. The resource right now stands at about 700,000 gold equivalent ounces or 49 million silver. The metallurgy has been very good for above 90% across the board for all of our different gold grades. And even the low grade silver leaching at a pretty good rate of about 76%. So that silver will be recovered in the open pit heap leach, but I would see the higher grade materials reporting to a secondary circuit when you get to that point on a mine. Again, just you can see the outline of the pit. There was, part of the block model was just outside of the pit, and that stuff ran very high grade. If you're mining, you take a shovel and dig it up, but that starts to show the potential for, the underground resource that will develop as we move forward. And then in the historic area there where Pan American and Minefinders were focused, that image below, you can see a lot of block model there that didn't make it into the resource as well, just due to the topography. But as metals prices moved up since we did that, I could see those pits expanding and making those more economic and bringing a bunch more ounces as well. Again, here's the section that shows that kind of that high grade gold and silver at surface, and then at depth, the same thing, kind of what we talked about. This was one of our first inklings that we were on to something different. You can see a bit of the core here. Again, it's been an amazing discovery. And again, I think we're just scratching the surface. This was the drilling as of the resource. Again, we've expanded all the way down to the bottom of this royal. You see a couple of the drills that were there that were too far spaced and not enough drilling to be included in the resource, but we filled in this entire gap, so that'll be included in the next resource. The geophysics has showed that this area to the north of the pit is still very much alive and healthy. We believe it's shifted to the east based on the local fault that's in that area, so we're going to be drilling that moving forward and continuing to expand the pit to the north as well. I mentioned metallurgy, always very important. Again, here you can see the bottle roll tests and what the recoveries were across the various grain ranges. But again, that's a huge check mark for the project. One thing that's important about our group, and we're a member of the Belcara group, and I think this gives us a lot of advantages over the other single company groups that you see, and you're going to hear from one of the other companies in our group next with Ben Whiting. But again, it allows us to share our G&A costs. It allows us to share expertise. We're able to have 4 senior geologists on staff that, you know, have experience all over the world and look at all of our projects and all of our companies within the group. So again, it's a huge advantage for us. The group's last big discovery was Orco Silver, which we sold in a bidding war between Coeur and First Majestic for over $350 million. Just quickly, running out of time here, but you can see the share structure as it stands. We have a very strong institutional ownership group. There's about 20 funds that own the stock. And the one opportunity I would like to point out here right now that's kind of been unique for our company is since we did our last small raise a few months ago, there's been a growing short position, which has never existed in the company. And yet the share price is moving up into that short position. So I hate people that short. I don't understand why they do it. I really don't understand why they would do it on a company that's pulled back from, you know, a high of 82 cents into the 20-cent range where they were shorting it. But I would love for those guys to get burned. They do that type of activity. And with a growing short position over the last 3 months, that's something that's never happened in the history of the company. So I think, you know, if anyone has deeper pockets, there's definitely an opportunity to burn those guys and really see the share price jump as they get caught further and further into their short and dig themselves a bigger hole. But with that, you know, I'll skip over. We've got the ESG slides and we're doing everything we can to help the community. But yeah, in summary, high quality asset, mining friendly jurisdiction, great management technical team, lots of potential and strong shareholder support behind the company. With that, we'll let Ben take over and tell you the Orex story. And then I look forward to answering questions as we get to the end after all the presentations.
Great. Thank you very much for the presentation, Steve.